This is a video or tutorial on the maintenance required for your motorized bicycle. In this guide, I will talk about mixing the gas, chain adjustments, changing the spark plug, checking for loose bolts, adjusting idle, greasing the clutch, cleaning the air filter. So I'm going to explain how to properly mix the gas and the proper ratios thereof. First and foremost, you have to get high quality 2-cycle oil. The only 2-cycle oil I recommend is the Lucas Land & Sea 2-cycle oil. You can get this at your local Myers. In addition to, you can get it at Amazon.com. Typing in keyword Lucas Land & Sea. So to mix it, I'm going to make it real simple. You go buy 1 gallon of gas. You put in 5 ounces of this 2-cycle oil in that 1 gallon of gas. Once this 1 gallon of gas is depleted, your motorbike is broken in. Because your motorbike is broken in, you can use less 2-cycle oil per gallon of gas. So once this gallon of gas is gone and your motorbike's broken in, you can now use 4 ounces of 2-cycle oil per 1 gallon of gas. So I'm going to talk about maintenance you're going to have to do to the chain. The chain needs to be tensioned. If it's not tensioned, that you're going to be hearing grinding noises and you're going to be messing up the teeth on the sprocket. So what you're going to do is you're going to have the clutch engaged and you're going to start spinning the tire. You're going to try to find a point of where the chain is most tight, because that's where we're going to begin tightening up the chain, is at the point where it's most tight. For example, what I mean by this, I'm going to spin it. See how there's a lot of slack here? Slack there. As I'm going around now, there's not as much slack. Once you find a spot where there's the least amount of slack, that's where you're going to want to begin tightening it. So what you're going to do is loosen this up, and you're just going to slide it up. See, you have that much play left in it, and you're going to slide it where there's a good amount of tension. You don't want it too tight. You still want a little bit of play in it. Once you hit the point where there's a good amount of tension, you're going to just tighten it back up, and then that's how you're going to adjust the chain. Now the chain, because since it's brand new, it's going to stretch over time. After every couple rides, I recommend checking the chain by spinning the tire and checking for tension. So over time, if your bicycle begins to sput and spitter and it's had problems starting, chances are you need to change out the spark plug. To change out the spark plug, you just pull this cap right here. You use the tool that I provided for you, pop it on like so, take an Allen wrench, you put it through the hole, you spin it, you screw it out, and you put a new plug in. So when you put a new plug in, make sure, or when you take the plug out, the motor is cold. If the motor is hot, you can strip out these threads. And then in addition to, when you put in the new spark plug, you should never over tighten the spark plug, because again, you can strip out the threads. So you take it and you just give it a little snug, and that's it. And when you put the cap back on, make sure you put it on all the way. Another maintenance thing is over time, I would say after every 100 miles or even 50 miles, just take your Allen wrench and see if these became loosened. Don't over tighten them. These are a little bit loose, so I'm going to tighten it up a little bit. And that is it. After every 100 miles or so, I would also take the Allen wrench and go in here, take a pair of pliers, and make sure the head bolts are tightened. So the reason why these bolts become loose over time, because when the motor heats and expands and heats and expands, that heat and contraction causes these bolts to loosen. Since it's a brand new motor, it's important that you just go to an overview and just make sure everything's tightened. So I'm going to talk about adjusting the idle on the motorized bicycle. If you notice that your idle is too high, you can decrease it. Or if it's too low and the motor wants to quit, you can increase it. So to do it, there's the idle screw right here. You just get a screwdriver and you turn it clockwise this way if you want to increase the rev or the idle. And then if you want to decrease the idle, you turn it counterclockwise. The clutch system of the motorized bicycle is a very important part to maintain. After every 200 miles or 4 tanks of gas, I recommend greasing the clutch components. In order to do it, it's a very simple process. It should take about 5 to 10 minutes to do this. What you'll need is an Allen wrench, and you're going to loosen up these 3 bolts right here, and you're going to take them out. I already have them loosened, so I'm going to go ahead and take them off. Once these 3 bolts are out, you're going to pop this little cover off, and you're going to spin the cover, and it should come completely off. There's 2 parts you're going to have to grease in here. The first part is this little pin. The pin is located right in the middle of the front sprocket. I'm going to take that pin out. It should come out very easily. And you're going to take your little grease bag that I provided for you. You're going to pop a little hole in the top. I just use my fingernails. You're going to take your grease bag and grease up a little line on one side. Then you're going to grease up a line on the other side. Then you're going to put a little grease dab on the very tip of it too. Once that's done, you're going to put the pin back in. The other part you need to grease is this little pin right here. Again, same process. You dab one line on one side, you dab one line on the other side. In addition to, there's a little flat part that you'll see on this pin, and you need to put another dab of grease on that flat part. Then from there, you are done greasing this side of the motor. You're going to do the opposite process. Take your cover, you're going to put the cover back on, and then you're going to put the Allen bolts back into the bicycle. So after you're done greasing up the other side, you're going to go to the other side of the motorized bicycle, and there's 5 bolts you're going to have to take out. Once they are out, this cover will pop off. And go ahead and try to save this gasket. Make sure you don't damage the basket. I'll put this clutch cover to the side, and you're going to grease this component. This right here is more simple. You take your little grease packet, and you're going to go in between this little sprocket right here. You're going to put some grease on here. You're going to go around that little sprocket. You're going to go up the big sprocket. You're going to take the back tire, you're going to spin it a little bit. Then you're going to grease this little sprocket again on the other side of it. You're going to go up the big sprocket a little bit. And that should be it. And then you're going to do the opposite process and put the clutch cover back on. If you live in a very dusty environment, or you want to take the bicycle off-roading a lot, and dust and debris can go inside the air filter right here by going up through these little ports right here. So what you would have to do is take the carburetor off in order to clean this air filter. So in order to do that, you're going to have to turn off the gas. You're going to have to take this hose off. Once the hose is off, you take a pair of pliers and you loosen this, and you take this off. And then once all that is off, you will take off these 2 Allen bolts, and then now this whole thing can be removed. Once it's removed, you have access to this bolt and another bolt on the other side. From there, that cover would pop off, and inside of it is a little foam filter that you can wash and get it cleaned, and then you can replace it. And then once it's replaced, you can just put the carburetor back on.